What's going on, FlightFam? This is your captain speaking, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back aboard Flight 48. Now, the last video that I posted was a comprehensive review of United Polaris Business Class from Newark Liberty International Airport all the way to Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos, Nigeria. Now, a few days after that, something personal did happen and I needed some time away in order for me to process everything. And I will get into that in the third installment of this new series. So I'm not going to take up most of your time. So make yourself at home, sit back, relax, and welcome to the QATARI Chronicles. You know, I see people do this all the time on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, but I never thought that I would actually be doing this. I don't have a microphone that's long enough to come over here, but welcome to Doha. But before we even get to Doha, I have a lot of explaining to do. Right now I'm located in the Pearl. I guess I won't waste your time. We got to go right back to New York where this journey all started from. So I'm from the New York City metropolitan area, and one of the most challenging feats is getting to the airport. And we have three of them. Newark's Liberty International Airport in Newark, New Jersey. New York's LaGuardia Airport that's located between Flushing and East Elmhurst, Queens. And New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport in Jamaica, Queens, which is where I'm heading right now. And plus you have many choices. You can take a rideshare service like Uber or Lyft. You can take a helicopter service known as Blade from Lower Manhattan, and you can get to any one of the three airports within 5 to 10 minutes. Or you can take public transportation, such as the New York City subway, the New Jersey Transit if you're heading over to Newark Liberty International Airport, or any one of the two commuter rail services, which is the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. Now before, you can only take the Long Island Railroad to get to either LaGuardia or JFK. But now with the newly crowned Grand Central Madison, which was opened on January 25th, 2023, a mere 15 days before I even traveled, it creates a much easier mass transit travel experience from anyone coming from Connecticut, the Bronx, Westchester County, and even as far up as Dutchess County. So when I woke up that morning and I checked to see how much an Uber would cost, it was $120 that day. But when I took the Metro North to the Long Island Railroad and then over to the air train, it only cost me $18 to get there. So yeah, just do the cost savings comparison. Finally here at Terminal 8, however, the check-in counter isn't open yet. They're starting to set it up right now, but I feel like this is going to be a really good journey. But let's see how the lounge situation is going to be. But first, let's go through security. Well, security took some time, but let's head over to the new edition, which is not really that new, it's just a rebrand or a refresh, which is the Greenwich Lounge here in Terminal 8 in JFK. Now, JFK Terminal 8 is one of the most boring terminals I've ever stepped foot in throughout my travels. It's absolutely an eyesore when you walk inside. Now, on the outside, it looks very nice, but when you walk inside, there's not really much to do as an economy passenger, and as a business class passenger, I would have to say the same thing. I could only access the Greenwich Lounge, and all that was just the flagship lounge and the Admirals Club in the B concourse merged together. Now, when I went to the Greenwich Lounge, it was fairly crowded just due to the lounge situation at JFK, and I'm going to be honest, the food selection and the drink selection was absolutely horrendous. So I feel like the lounge situation at JFK Terminal 8 could be a lot better. So I decided to head over to the Admirals Club over at the C Concourse, and that was another grave mistake because the lounge is a lot smaller and very outdated. It's so outdated that I would say that the United clubs that you would see at Washington Dulles, Newark, and even Denver are a lot better than what you would get at that Admirals Club in the C Concourse. I will say though that the lounge attendants at both lounges were very nice and proficient, but American Airlines, you really need to focus on the lounges because they definitely need work. Upon entering the gate area, it was very crowded.
and it felt like I was already boarding my Lagos, Nigeria bound flight, but I wouldn't be boarding that flight for over a day from this point of boarding.
So after a hectic scene in the beginning, we are now getting ready to enter Shangri-La.
I was just thinking to myself, like,
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the inquisitive intricacies of Shangri-La, oh god, that was so corny. But before we get into the review, I will have to say, the camera can never do it justice. I always say that the best pair of cameras that you will ever have in your life are your own eyes. The beautiful scintillating finishes of every single Qsuite gave you a sense of regalness and royalty for some strange reason. Because just think about it, I had a really rough time in Terminal 8 for the beginning of this journey, but boarding this beautiful ambience of luxury really did make it up. So as I was placing my carry-ons in the overhead locker, the lovely FA came over and introduced herself. And one of Qatar's finest qualities is the professionalism in business class. So she referred to me by my surname. And right from there, she immediately offered the signature cocktail of Qatar Airways, the lemon mint. And I will have to say, this is one of the best drinks in the air. So while there was still about 20 minutes or so left in the boarding process, I decided to go ahead and begin this amazing journey by toasting it off with an absolutely stunning glass of Le Rhum Perrier Sous Vie Rosé Champagne. And I am so sorry to my French speakers out there, but the only thing that I will have to say to you is, Je suis désolé. Oh god, I know you guys are cringing, but you know what? Let me make it up to you guys by telling you a little bit about this beautiful and mesmerizing aircraft, the Airbus A350-1000. Now tonight's flight is operating as QR702, or the codeshare number that I actually booked it under, American Airlines AA8116. Tonight's registration will be flown on Alpha 7-Alpha November Romeo, a 3-year-old Airbus A350-1000. So as we push back and taxi towards runway 22 right at JFK, I'll turn on the fasten seatbelt sign, but allow you to listen to such a beautiful spool up and take off of this amazing work of machinery. Now that right there, FlightFam, is definitely full power. Right after roaring down runway 22 right like a rocket, we made a sharp left turn and climbed a little bit more aggressively to avoid some storm clouds in the area. From there we started our trek north towards Boston, Massachusetts, and then over Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada. And from there, nothing but 5 to 6 hours over the North Atlantic. After about 5 to 6 hours, we finally started flying over the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Greece, a small snippet of Turkey, Turkey. And no, I'm not talking about the turkeys that you normally see in Staten Island, strutting around aimlessly as if they're the landlords of the forgotten borough of New York City. Egypt, a small snippet of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, before beginning our descent right over the Persian Gulf near Bahrain and northern Qatar, and then making our final descent into Doha. The total flight time on tonight's flight is 11 hours 35 minutes, cruising at 35, 37 and 39,000 feet. Now since we're at cruising altitude, I'll turn off the fasten seatbelt sign and let's get into a little bit of a seat tour, or should I say, suite tour. Puns aside, I believe that we should start with what makes it a suite, the doors. Now the doors are only accessible during in-flight. The only times when they're not accessible is during takeoff and touchdown for safety reasons. Each Q suite is a little bit different. So if you're sitting in the even numbered rows, you're actually facing forward. But if you're sitting in the odd numbered rows, you're facing backwards. Now some of the pros and cons to this: if you're sitting in the even numbered rows, you're sitting closer to the aisle. As opposed to sitting in the odd numbered rows, you're sitting closer to the windows. But let's get back to Suite 4J. Since I'm sitting on the right side of the aircraft, the reading light in the even numbered rows along the window are above your right shoulder. And another nifty feature about this light, it kind of doubled as a nice little light to have during meals. And right beside it was a nice little coat hook. To my right was not just a little seat to have if I didn't want to sit in the main seat and get a little bit closer to the window. Right under the cushion was a ton of storage space. So much in fact that you can fit a tablet, a laptop, a pair of headphones, or maybe two, a pouch with all of your amenities in it, and a smaller little area designated for smaller electronics such as phones and earbuds. Right above that, you have the suite controls. You have the do not disturb button labeled as D&D, and you have the usuals of lounge mode, bed mode, but there's also a dining mode that pushes you a little bit forward so you can be a lot closer to the massive dining table that's right in front of you. But before getting to that, there is another area where you can place your tablet and smartphone just in case you want to charge. Now to gain access to the table is simple. All you need to do is press a little metal slot that's right under, pull the table towards you, and then flip over the flap and you have a massive dining area and technically a nice office area as well. And now onto the infotainment system. To access the infotainment system, it is touchscreen, but you also have a Motorola style remote right next to the seat controls, and there's a camera on the back of it, but I don't know what the function is, but you can definitely use the touchscreen function on the remote control. And let me tell you something, this infotainment system is pretty damn impressive. And for an av geek's pleasure, you do have the tail camera and the nose landing gear camera on the Airbus A350. And that's one of the selling points that Airbus put on this aircraft, and it's very cool to see. Now in terms of the other content that you will see, you will also see some Qatar Airways content, but we're here for the movies and shows, and all I can guarantee is you have international, Bollywood, African, and Hollywood movies. So there is no way that you will go bored on an 11.5-hour flight. Now shall we move forward to the amenity kit? Now the amenity kit today is brought to you by Diptyque, and I will say that it came in a very cute and artsy black and white box. Now the contents inside includes a little card that has Qatar Airways branding on it with a QR code in the back, lotion, face cream, lip balm, a small little bottle of fragrance, and a pair of traveler socks. However, compared to United Airlines, it doesn't have any sort of branding on it. And just like that, my preferred dining time has arrived. Now you might be asking yourself, what do you mean by preferred dining time? Now, Qatar Airways is an airline that believes in dine on demand for business class and first class travelers, which means you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want. So as a starter, I decided to go with the mixed nuts and wine, specifically Chardonnay, my favorite. Now they did take my order while we were on the ground. However, if you would like to see what they offer on Qatar Airways on my flight specifically, pause the video just in case you would like to see what kind of delicacies they have. And I will say, they all are delicious. Up next was the artisan bread starter, which came with olive oil, balsamic vinaigrette, tomato chili, or spicy lemon. Next, after that, was a palate cleanser, which was much needed. Now, I don't know exactly what was in it, but it was pretty good. And accompanying with that, from my main, was a nice glass of red wine. And you'll understand why in a moment. Up next is a cultural staple on Qatar Airways, which is the signature Arabic meze, which consists of hummus, Utabel, and Tabbouleh. And it was absolutely amazing. And now it's time for the main course. The lamb shank Rogan Josh with saffron rice, with fried okra, paneer, and roasted pistachio. This was immense with flavor. Every single bite, from the rice to the lamb itself, and the lamb was so tender, perfectly cooked to perfection. Absolutely amazing. Oh wait, hold on, we are not done because we have dessert, and this dessert is immense and rich with flavor. The mixed berry and lemon cheesecake, absolutely. I'm sorry. I think I might have to book a flight a lot earlier than I need to because this is how good this service was. From the presentation, the graham cracker crumble around the plate, the fruit, absolutely remarkable. Now with the 4 seasons out of the way, I think it's time for us to take a little bit of rest. Now, provided to you at your suite is a nice sized pajama set by the White Company, and I will say that it's very comfortable, loose fitting too. As soon as I got back, my bed was already made. And like that, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in the morning. Good morning, FlightFam. I got a decent amount of sleep, don't you think? I got around 5 to 6 hours of decent sleep, and by that time we were already over Amsterdam. Mornings 37,000 feet in the air, you just can't beat it. But since I don't like to sleep for too long on my flight, I needed a nice caffeine hit. So upon getting up, I did ask the FA if I was able to get a nice little cup of cappuccino. So she told me it would take around 15 minutes just due to the fact that they were getting ready to start the breakfast service. So I said, not a problem. So I went ahead, changed, and once I came back, it was right there waiting for me. And it was really strong, just the way I like it. Now, you're gonna see something funny. There are 2 things in front of you that should not be able to even match up. A tablet that has United Airlines branding in the background, and a Qatar Airways infotainment system. Now, there is an HDMI port, and the funniest thing is, I just brought an HDMI cable just in case, just to try it out to see if it would display on the IFE. And to my luck, it did not work at all. Maybe it was the fact that the IFE detected that there was a United Airlines background tablet, but suffice it to say, it just didn't work. As we came up to North Macedonia, the breakfast service started, and I went with the open-faced salmon, and I wanted to try something a little bit different than I normally would have here in the US. Now, yeah, it's not something that I would actually go for, but it wasn't that bad, but not something that's quite to my taste. So with a little bit over 3 hours left in the flight, I decided to watch a few more movies before we started our descent over eastern Saudi Arabia. And with about 45 minutes before landing, a hot towel was provided along with a nice cute little box of chocolates, which actually had a card that said, "Life is a journey, so make it sweet." That was a very cute little touch. And now, since we're on approach, ladies and gentlemen, I'll turn on the fasten seatbelt sign while we make this amazing and mesmerizing approach onto runway 34 right at Doha's Hamad International Airport. Wow. Now you see how powerful those reverse thrusters are on the Airbus A350's Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engines. It literally knocked my DSLR over. Well, besides all that aviation technical vernacular, welcome to Doha Hamad International Airport, with the local time being 3:56 p.m., an on-time arrival. Thanks, Qatar. I really do appreciate that. Now, as we were taxiing, I noticed something a little bit off. We were taxiing a little bit too slow, so I immediately looked at the tail camera just to see if there was any vehicles right in front of us. Now, here's the thing. Doha is kind of infamous for ground situations. Now, I looked to the right outside the window, and there were barely any aircrafts at the terminal. So that means there's free gate space. However, look at where the plane is turning. It's turning to a remote stand, which only means one thing: a bus gate. Normally, this happens at airports where it's severely congested, and that's the only way that you can deboard the plane. But in this case, after flying for about 11 and a half hours, you kind of don't want to go through that. You'd rather just go through the jet bridge. Now, for some passengers, this will be an inconvenience, especially if you're trying to catch a very tight connection. But for me, on the other hand, I will be in Doha for 15 hours. Because Doha is not my final destination at all. I'll be continuing on to my second home of Lagos, Nigeria. But if you're wondering how I spent 15 hours in Doha, that will be the second installment of the QATARI Chronicles. But since we're here in Doha, I would like to take the time for thanking you for watching another video. Thanks for tuning in to Flight 4080, and as always, keep climbing.